Hello everyone, welcome back. I'm so sorry that I haven't posted in months, but I'm doing well and I hope you're doing well. And I'm back with a reading for the collective. So I've pulled a few cards from the Colette Baron Reed Enchanted Map deck. I have a past, present, and future and an overall energy. And let's just jump into it. I know things are really intense out there. So in the past, we have the Gentle Gardener card. In the present, we have, the Strength card. And then in the future, I have the Magic Stream card. So what's really interesting about the Magic Stream being in the future is that I've never seen this card before. I've done 1,000 readings with this deck. I don't think I've ever pulled it. I've never read about it. So that to me just signifies that this is completely brand new energy that's coming in. But what's really interesting is that the card itself is basically describing the singularity or the event or that moment where you realize that everything is connected and hindsight is 2020 and it all makes sense and yada yada yada, right? So that's just an interesting energy to be moving towards. So again, past and present. In the past, we had the Gentle Gardener, and this is reminding me of the energy of April of last year around the eclipse, when it really felt like we landed somewhere new, that we had reached like a new level of the game that we haven't made it to before. But simultaneously to that, it's like everything kind of froze in place, or at least I felt very frozen in place. And while we were frozen, it was like the world was collapsing all around us and there was nothing that we could really do. And in hindsight, I think a lot of this was basically what you could call course correction, right? Where it was us being rerouted from wherever we were to wherever it is that we're supposed to be. And it reminds me of a reading I had posted years ago about this concept that came through of a time capsule, where it was like each of us had a time capsule in our DNA, so to speak, that corresponds to our best, highest, and good timeline, right? Whatever that would be for you. Because each of us has a very different Goldilocks zone, right? So I believe that started hatching or activating in April of last year, and everything we've seen since has been the relatively brutal course correction of taking us from where we've been to wherever it is that we're going, right? So it's been a lot of tower moments, right? The eggs are cracking, the obsolete is being sloughed off and pushed away. But now here we are in the strength card position, right? So it's like fully out of the egg, fully extended as far as we can go. But what's interesting about this strength card position is that it's like, I don't think she can hold this position for much longer, right? It's like, it's reminding me of an archer that's pulled their bow back as far as it can go and it's about to release, right? So that's what I'm seeing with this strength card. It's like, she can't really hold this pose for another second. It's like things have kind of stretched out as far as they can go. I don't really know how else to articulate it, but what's interesting is that with the magic stream that's coming up next, which I was talking about looking like the singularity or the event or anything like that, you'll notice the commonality between the world here that has the little tree on top of it on the strength card, and then this blob that also has the tree on top of it with the magic stream, right? So what this is showing me is that it's like, we're all expecting this to go somewhere, right? It's like, it looks like this is about to be launched. It's about to be sent somewhere. But with this magic stream, it's like whatever this bubble is bursts right where it's standing, right? Where it's like nothing really progresses any further than it is right now, and things burst where they're standing, and all of the information is being released, right? Because the magic stream does talk about information and downloads and clarity and streams of consciousness, right? And it's almost like the idea of us being reconnected to the cosmic Wi-Fi, right? Which I would call angelic intelligence as opposed to artificial intelligence, right? Like, imagine if we could just connect to the Akashic record or whatever you want to call it and download the information that we need in real time, right? Because the magic stream talks about epiphanies and downloads and things that can correspond to innovation or ingenuity, and how it seems like there's this phenomena where people around the world discover the same thing simultaneously, right? So really what this is talking to me about is like, again, that angelic intelligence, the cosmic Wi-Fi coming back online, right? And that's why I think there's so much mythology right now around AI and artificial intelligence, because they are trying to create a digital version of whatever it is that we're headed towards, but not on my timeline. It'll never happen because it's just not possible. And I don't actually believe any of the stories that they tell us about AI. I don't think any of them are thinking. I don't think any of them are as powerful as they claim to be. I think they wish that they had something as powerful as they claim to have, but they do not. And even if they have something similar to looking glass technology, right, where they can try to manipulate the timeline and stage events that, will shift the timeline by understanding the correlation between cause and effect, they can't do it. They just cannot do it. And it reminds me of the Matrix movie where Neo meets the architect, and the architect tells him that the problem with the Matrix is that they cannot predict free will, right? No matter how much they try to subjugate humanity, they just cannot account for free will, right? So Palantir is sitting there with their looking glass technology, and they're saying, okay, if this event happens, then the cause and effect is that it will lead to that event, right? But what they can't account for is little Timmy in the middle of Idaho who suddenly has a spontaneous idea to go chase a butterfly as opposed to chase, the cat that he was chasing. And that split-second decision changes the timeline, right? And I know that was a ridiculous analogy, but that's what I'm trying to say, is that we don't have to do anything to shift the timeline. Right? Think about the movie Everything Everywhere All at Once, right? Where in order to jump timelines, all she had to do was like break a pencil or something silly and mundane like that. And it's basically like the butterfly effect, right? If a butterfly flaps its wings in Hong Kong, it creates a hurricane in Hawaii or something like that. And so Palantir is basically creating a hurricane in Hawaii to try to get a butterfly to flap its wings in Hong Kong. They cannot do it because they cannot account for free will. And as much as they're trying to script reality, little do they know their reality has been scripted, and they are playing a role in our script, which is to basically unlock this place and expose it for exactly what it is. And that's what I see with the magic stream, right? It's like all of a sudden, this bubble, whatever this thought form is that's growing, just bursts. It does not go any further, and it releases all of the information that's tied up inside of it, right? Now, the overall energy, which was interesting, is the balancing act. And I think we're in this little ship right here on this tightrope that's being moved from the old into the new. And as you can see, as the ship is moving, there's all these little hearts that are falling out of it, right? So these hearts are falling out of it so that the ship can maintain balance. And it reminds me of my mantra that I've shared a few times on this channel, where I talk about balance is restored, where if something silly happens to me, like for example, if I drop my iced coffee in the morning and I spill my iced coffee everywhere, I claim that energy and I say balance is restored. Because I believe that the way that this matrix works is that if you have a fear thought form sitting in your field, it's like it needs to discharge somewhere. So the safety mechanism that's built into the matrix is that it follows the path of least resistance. For example, you drop the iced coffee, right? I'm expecting a tower moment. I'm expecting devastation, loss, frustration, whatever it may be. So the universe is finding the path of least resistance so that I can experience that vibration, that thought form, whatever, and then release it. Right? So when you drop the coffee, when you experience the frustrating thing, you say balance is restored, name it, claim it, and release it, as opposed to doing the opposite, which we typically do, which is saying the dropping of the iced coffee is evidence that nothing ever goes in my favor and it never ends and it's always something else and blah, 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 blah. And of course it never ends and it's always something else, right? So balance is restored, name it and claim it. The fear thought forms that are discharging right now are personal and collective, right? So this would be the World War III, Armageddon, Civil War, blah, 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 AI apocalypse. All of those timelines are being discharged simultaneously, right? So when you see it in the news, it's not that it's going any further. The bubble bursts exactly where it is standing right now. It does not need to progress. Balance is restored. Name and claim the tower, right? Another thing about naming and claiming the tower is that I've experienced this as well with overall circumstances, right? So there's been times when I find myself in an overall circumstance that is not good, and I know that unfortunately I manifested it because I was so afraid of it, and it was the only thing I thought of, and then I wound up in it, right? So I've had many moments where I realized, okay, this is my manifestation, and as much as I created it, as the license holder of this creation, I can uncreate it. And balance is restored, right? I was expecting to experience X, Y, and Z, and here I am experiencing it, so boop, now I can release it. Another interesting thing about balance is restored, right, is if you're expecting, well, for example, we're on this theoretical Armageddon World War III timeline, and this weekend was really intense. In my town, there was a Flag Day parade that ends with a celebration of fireworks, right? So I was sitting there watching the fireworks and thinking to myself, how strange it is that there's people around the world right now that are basically, it's like their greatest fear is hearing any kind of explosion, right? Because that means that the missiles are inbound or whatever it may mean. And here I am just watching explosions for entertainment. And I thought to myself, okay, balance is restored. You know, here I am concerned that this could eventually reach the homeland and yada, 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 and where's it going to play out? And here's my opportunity. Balance is restored. If you want an explosion on this timeline, there it is. And now we can kind of move on from those things, right? So that's not really an example of something negative happening, right? I'm just watching fireworks, but it's like you can still claim the energy the same way, right? It's like I'm having a first-hand experience of things exploding over my home. Balance is restored. I'm good, right? So I'm like, where else do I want to take that? I wholeheartedly believe that this entire narrative is going to collapse, that it's not going to head towards anything worse than it is. My evidence would be all of the other narratives that have just collapsed overnight. Right? Remember the drone thing a couple months ago, right? It peaked and then disappeared. And so many other things have kind of gone along the same way. And we've been inches from World War III and Civil War and all of that on many times. But just like I was saying with the architect, they cannot predict free will. So as much as they try to stage certain events in order to push the timeline in a certain direction, they cannot do it. And there's examples, right? On this channel this time last year, I was saying that it felt like there was going to be some sort of event in mid-July, right? July 15th. That just so happened to be the week when Trump was nearly assassinated, Biden resigned, and Kamala was coronated, right? I think we can all say fairly that, God forbid, had that bullet hit him, we would have wound up on the Civil War, World War III timeline within a week, right? Absolutely. And I think there's many other things that have happened where it's like that thing has not happened because something else interfered. Call it the divine, call it whatever. I think the same thing happened this weekend where, unfortunately, in the United States, in what state was it in? Was it in Minnesota where those Democratic lawmakers were assassinated, and it turned out that they had a list of 70 other lawmakers and yada, yada, yada. It's like, could you imagine if that had theoretically been successful and the next day was all of those No Kings protests, how people would have reacted? Again, we would have had Civil War, World War III, yada, yada, but it didn't happen because something else keeps interfering with the interferers. And that was even how I felt during the drone thing, right? Is that it's like we had all of these military drones in the sky and the plasma beams, right? It seemed like they were kind of playing ping pong, where it was like the drones would do one thing and then the plasma beams would come in and do another. So from that respect, I'm not concerned about any of this because I know that you cannot arm wrestle with God, right? No matter how big your computer is, you cannot arm wrestle with God, right? And artificial intelligence will never pair up to angelic intelligence, and that is what you have. You have angelic intelligence. You are a divine supercomputer. Palantir does not have enough money or data to create anything as powerful as you. And collectively, if we collectively say, not on my timeline, you are not getting the apocalypse you want, then they don't get it. So they cannot build anything without us, and they don't have us. And that's pretty much it, right? So we have unsubscribed from all of these thought forms and the apocalypse script and the Armageddon script and whatever it is. Not on my timeline. Nope. So I guess we'll just leave it there. Is there anything else that I want to say? No, I think that's pretty much it. The bubble's about to burst. There's nothing they can do about it. As hard as they try to get whatever it is that they're desiring, they are only shooting themselves in the foot. They think that they're the puppeteers. Little do they know God's hand is so far up their butt that his fingers are coming out their mouth, and they are being puppeted themselves. So best of luck to the psychopaths out there, but they're going to need it because we are in control and we do not consent. So I think that's pretty much it. I love you guys, and I hopefully will see you very soon. Bye, everyone.